Kathy and I were so pleased with ourselves. We were taking our boys, Ian and Alec, down to Fort Worth on the Heartland Flyer train for a little 3-day vacation. Our niece and Kathy's parents joined us, and we managed to pack everything, our stuff and the boys, for 3 days into one bag. Now, granted, summer trips are easier. You need fewer clothes. And when you're headed to Fort Worth in June, you need fewer clothes still. Shorts, a couple of t-shirts, the prerequisite swimsuits, hats for the bald guy, some comfy shoes, and lots of sunscreen. We Irish folk burn so easily. We didn't have to check any bags, so just climb on board and sit in those big, comfortable seats on the train and enjoy a pretty pleasant 4-hour ride to Fort Worth, passing through lots of small towns on the way. You don't really encounter many people along the way, except for the fellow passengers, but you do see a lot of wheat and cornfields, glimpses of the highway, little creeks, a couple of rivers, and in what is billed as the scenic part of the trip, a jaunt through the Arbuckle Mountains and the really incredibly overstated Big Canyon, which is what passes for both mountain scenery and canyons here in Oklahoma, complete with a mass of flowing red water. We did encounter one character on the train who visited with us, showed the kids a few magic tricks. Ian is still trying to duplicate the sleight of hand, and showed us a business card identifying himself as a handwriting expert. Now, I wrote a little sample for him, and he told me that I was constructively ambitious, whatever that means, that one leg was shorter than the other, which I can neither confirm nor deny, and that I was good with people. So I punched him in the stomach, figuring that he needed to be wrong about something. I didn't really, but we went to the stockyards and the zoo and the science museum, all in about a 3-mile radius from the hotel. And in between, we had some great Tex-Mex, and the kids swam until they were all worn out and pruny. We did that all out of a single bag, the size that many people use for trips to the gym. Yet as compact as that was, it was still a great deal more than Jesus sent his disciples out with. He sent them out with nothing. No purse, no bag, no sandals, nothing. At least this is the way that Luke tells it. Mark, the earliest writer, has Jesus send the 12 disciples out, not the 70. No bag, no food, no money, only a staff. Oddly, he tells them to wear their sandals, but only one tunic. So I think that what we get with these different accounts is evidence that Jesus' disciples listen to the way that my kids do, kind of selectively. Was that yes on sandals or no? Was it just the 12 of us, or was it the whole group? But while we're here, let's clear up a little misnomer that's out there. Jesus doesn't have just 12 disciples. Here in this passage, he's appointed 70 to head out into the country. Now, sure, there's the 12 that we're used to, but even the Gospels don't agree on the names of the 12. It's just an ancient way of getting good numbers in there. 7s, 12s, 40s, 70s, all good numbers for many ancient cultures, and even our own today. I was just talking with somebody about the pivotal birthdays for children as being 7 and 14 and 21. All those derivatives of 7. 12 is an idiomatic term to the original hearers of these stories. It matches the 12 tribes of Israel, which is a way of saying everybody. Now, though I stuffed a couple of books into our light luggage, I found on the train that I really didn't need them. I can sit for 4 hours and look out the window of the train passing small towns, wondering what people do for a living, looking at the mix of architecture, thinking about the stories that must be present in those brick-lined main streets and old abandoned barns. I look at the fields that we passed by the hundreds, wondering what crop had just been harvested, looking for new plantings and guessing what was in season. I found the only thing that I really need was my iPhone, and then I had a little internet access and I could actually go look and see what was growing in season. Made me sound smart to the other passengers. Harvest must have just happened because many of the fields were bare, everything drawn in like a huge gathering of individual plants and stalks. And it's the same metaphor that Jesus uses here when he says that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. There is more than enough for all, but so few are willing to do the work of God's community, being oriented towards love rather than success or victory or nationality or security. I read in the paper Saturday a story about a farmer in Turpin, a small town just south of Liberal, Kansas in the Panhandle. It is a farming community, and a man named Irvin Buller has lived there most of his life. His existence was tied to that cyclical process of farming wheat, and as the writer Ann Kelly notes in her story, the 65-year-old farmer had an infectious laugh and was a natural at lifting spirits and helping others without making it seem like charity. He was an important part of that community. But now he lay dying in the hospital of cancer as the last crop of wheat he would ever see lay ready for harvest. Operating from the sentiment, Irvin would have done the same thing for us, Kelly writes. The community gathered together, and farmers took time from their own harvests to work that farmerless field. Hospitality, like a wheat field, is cyclical too, only it recedes itself. I think that this is what Jesus, a day laborer himself, was trying to get across with his harvest metaphor. He gathers this group of followers, all who have left fields and fishing nets to follow him, and once again we are witness to one of Jesus' so-called pep talks. I cannot imagine a line from any of his supposedly inspirational speeches making it onto a sign hanging above a hall that leads onto the playing field, or emblazoned on a statue, or as a motivational poster. Jesus says, "All right, you 70 volunteers, head out into the chaos unarmed, with no food, no shoes, nothing. Head out there like you're stepping into a yard of pit bulls with pork chops tied to your legs. Go as vulnerably as you can imagine." Jesus pushes his followers way beyond their comfort zones and challenges them to find a boundary. Not a small task in these people who lived already on the very edges. Look, Jesus' followers were nothing like us. They were first-century peasants who lived on the fringes of survival most of the time. He was not asking them to leave their 2,500-square-foot air-conditioned home in the suburbs. He was stripping away what little they had. He was sending them out naked to proclaim that the kingdom had drawn near. Now, I don't know about you, but that seems like it might have been as hard an argument to make then as it is now. I turn on the news, I read the paper, and I'm not really filled with signs of the kingdom. Wars without end, poverty and greed duking it out for the top of my outrage list, and story after story of pain and suffering. If the kingdom has drawn near, shouldn't we at least get a glancing blow of hope and love and peace? You know, the remnants, like the bands of slow rain that came to us this weekend, courtesy of Hurricane Alex. But this is what Jesus tells them. Don't get caught up in how you are being treated. Don't insist that you be shown some sense of importance. Do your position as followers of the Prince of Peace. Instead, he says, simply be peace.